Hi, this is an introduction to Catholic Lecture 36 and also Catholic Lecture 194 on prayer and meditation. Catholic approach to prayer and meditation. Prayer. The first versions of prayer that we learn from childhood are supplicant prayers, meaning, help me, do it for me, give it to me. Nothing wrong with those prayers. Catholic is emphasizing a more mature version of prayer. What they're suggesting is, God, be with me, inspire me, help me to feel supported, help me to see the best way, the right way, more important, more deeply, etc. But God, help me to do what I need to do. Help me to find the strength and courage to attain my goals. But also help me understand my limitations and the earthly compromises that need to be made. Now, in meditation, Pathwork promotes or supports a more active meditation than what is traditionally understood as just sitting. I don't think that's true. I don't think that meditation is just sitting. But the way it was explained to me, it was that simple, to quiet your mind. Pathwork suggests that instead of trying to quiet a mind that may not be ready to be quiet, that in our initial meditations, or in this form of meditation, that we sit and notice what happens. And for most of us, what happens is lots of thoughts come tumbling to the surface. It's just this very crowded interior life. So the guide differentiates between foreground thoughts and background thoughts. Foreground thoughts, this is from Catholic Lecture 68. Foreground thoughts are conscious, deliberate thoughts. You can control them. Background thoughts, which can bubble up when you're trying to be quiet, are involuntary. And what they are, the way I understand it, is it's if they're fragments. Now, those of you who use computers a lot know about fragmented files and lost bits and pieces. And in our lives, there are lots of memories where there's bits and pieces that are not resolved. So they just float to the surface, flotsam and jetsam. They just float to the surface of our mind without our being able to say, go away, I'm busy now, I'm trying to concentrate. And these background thoughts, these involuntary thoughts, Pathwork Lecture 194 says they're valuable. Go ahead and collect them. Collect them in the sense of allow them to surface. And just notice them rather than going after them, trying to figure out what they're about, becoming concerned about them. Simply allow them. And one of my teachers drew a beautiful diagram of a vessel. And as you sit in the vessel, there's she drew it with bubbles, a lot of bubbles in the vessel. And then as you just sit and notice, the bubbles begin to rise. And they inevitably float away until you can hold an empty vessel. Which is what a lot of us think meditation is supposed to be about, simply being empty and being in communication with your own self. But in order to get there, it's important to go ahead and acknowledge that we have a lot of fluff and feathers and bits and pieces that haven't been resolved, that they act like little kids asking for our attention. So to just sit and allow those to come forward, without getting involved with them. Now later, if you want, you can write them down, and you may need to process these things. These thoughts, these bits and pieces are coming from your unconscious. They're a little bit of a burp. They're saying, I'm not fully resolved yet. So you can notice them without becoming attached to them. And that's the difference. To allow them to come up, to notice them, and not follow through on them in that moment. Or to have a dialogue with yourself, which is also a form of meditation. So the Catholic meditation techniques that are taught, there are about 4 or 5 lectures, are about what I would call active meditation. It can be seen as similar to walking meditation. Sometimes a meditative activity, because it requires hand-eye coordination. It occupies enough of your brain so that those thoughts aren't noticed. And so you feel clear because your brain is occupied with some kind of activity, knitting, walking, riding a bike. I used to do some dancing, and I found that because the dancing was, I want to call it rote, it was very rhythmic dancing. Once I got into it, I could lose myself in the rhythm. And I found that I was present, but I wasn't having to work at anything, even though I was in motion. It created an emptiness that was quite beautiful. It was almost as beautiful as being in an empty sanctuary and hearing the silence. It's an interesting juxtaposition. So that's a small summary of the lectures on prayer and meditation, which was the topic from May 2016.